So here's some production value for you. We're just going to talk over still images for this entire video. The 5 most disappointing NBA players this season, in my opinion. We're going to start with Mike Conley of the Utah Jazz. Now, Conley still brings a lot to the table: defense, leadership, playmaking. But he averaged 21 points a game last season, so the Jazz were hoping that he could get some buckets. And he has been really inefficient for Utah, shooting 37% from the field, and I'm sure his true shooting percentage is really ugly. I mentioned this in the Utah video I did. I think a lot of it is the adjustment playing with Marc Gasol and now playing with Rudy Gobert. I mean, Rudy is great. He's one of my favorite players in the league, but with Gasol, Conley, for one, had amazing chemistry, and number two, Gasol was spacing the floor a lot. He was passing out to other guys. He was throwing it to cutters while he was standing at the top of the key, whereas Gobert wants to roll to the rim and grab offensive rebounds, and I think this has led to Conley taking a lot more floaters. Last season, Mike Conley attempted about 16% of his shots from 3 to 10 feet. This year, that's all the way up to 21%. He's shooting a higher percentage of his shots from three-point range as well, and he's also shooting less free throws. So it's going to be an adjustment for everybody involved, and I'm confident they'll figure it out. But for right now, Mike Conley just hasn't looked super comfortable in Utah's offense. I think a similar thing can be said for Lauri Markkanen of the Chicago Bulls, where he has not looked very comfortable in their offense. Markkanen has maybe been the biggest disappointment for me this year. I predicted that he was going to win Most Improved and probably make an All-Star team. And it's just been rough across the board, man. I mean, 37% from the field, 29% from 3. And there's a lot of things you could look at. A lack of aggressiveness on Markkanen's part. Jim Boylen's offense just not featuring him enough. Zach LaVine not getting him the ball. It's probably somewhere in the middle of all that. To me, Markkanen is one of those dudes where you can't not include him for a few minutes and then give him the ball on an open 3 and expect him to do really well, because it's just the feel for the game, you know? Some guys can just play that super off-ball role, and even though Markkanen should be a great shooter in the league, he still needs to just have it, whether it's for a post-up or a pick and roll or bringing the ball up floor himself sometimes. I mean, he is a pretty good ball handler. And I think what might be the most telling stat is last season, Markkanen averaged 66 touches a game, and this season he's averaging 46. 20 less times he's touching the ball in a game. That's a lot. So I think it's the responsibility of everyone, Markkanen included, to just get him rolling a little bit more. Next up, we're going to go with a player that I just made a video on, Ben Simmons. This is basically going to be the TLDR of that video. Like Markkanen, I think Ben has not been as aggressive as he could be. Yeah, I know the spacing is not always amazing, but there's still opportunities to attack the rim. And not just in transition, it can happen in the half court as well. But what we're getting a lot of from Ben this year is he brings the ball up and he passes it to somebody on the wing, and then he just kind of stands around, and he'll stand in the dunker spot or he'll stand in the corner. We did just get his first career three-pointers. That's nice. Whether it's more of that, whether it's more cutting off the ball, which he has done to be nice, but I think he could do more of it. I think he can attack the glass more. I would hope that he can be a post-up guy. I mean, his post-up numbers are not good, but I'd like to think that he can attack mismatches, because if that's the case, then he can set screens like crazy, you know, where he can screen on the ball, off the ball, and I will use the exact term that I used in the video on Ben Simmons. He could basically be a super Draymond, because he is just more talented, more athletic, bigger than Draymond is. Obviously, he's not setting screens for Steph, Clay, and KD, but I think he can still make a huge impact, to where instead of just standing around 12 feet from the basket, which he has done a lot this season and getting in the way of the offense, he can just be this thing that the defense has to take account of at all times. So hopefully he does that. Hopefully Brett Brown has him do that. And again, he has done some of this season, but there's been a lot of possessions where he hasn't done anything. So hopefully we get that. Next, I want to talk about Aaron Gordon. His averages are down across the board. His efficiency is worse. But the thing with Gordon is he still remains one of the more interesting players in the league to me, because I still don't know how much of it is that he's just maybe not that great, or he wants to be a different type of player than what he really should be, in terms of a guy who like wants to dribble and shoot threes instead of just being like a defensive playmaking Sean Marion hybrid thing. But how much of it is also just on the inconsistency with his role and his minutes and his position and that kind of thing? I mean, we remember the Ibaka season where he was pushed to small forward, and now with this Magic team, I mean, it's been talked about by a lot of people. The spacing's weird. You're trying to get Gordon and Isaac in there, and then you got Fultz, and you got to deal with his whole thing, and they still don't have a great perimeter scorer or a great scorer, period. And so it's like, well, what if Aaron Gordon was just on a team that did have a great scorer? Like, you picture him on the Trailblazers or something, right? Where he can just set screens for Dame and CJ, and he doesn't have to dribble as much, and he can just be really athletic and play off the ball and all that, right? But at the same time, I don't think that excuses Gordon not being great through 14 games, you know what I mean? I mean, for one, his three ball has regressed so far. He'll probably bounce back to his normal thing, which is about league average, but you would think, okay, his percentages have gone up the last 2 seasons, maybe this could be the year. Gordon looks more like a stretch 4 type of dude. Hasn't happened so far. I know he's got the ankle injury, so hopefully he doesn't miss too much time. But another thing is, I don't think he invites enough contact when he's mixing it up down low. He's shooting 3 free throws a game, and when you just look at his post-ups, which can turn into like turnaround jumpers, or the way that he tries to be really agile with his layups rather than just finishing through people, I think that's a little weird for a guy who is as strong and as athletic as Aaron Gordon is. So there's that. I also think he is perhaps shooting a few too many mid-rangers. He's not good from there, and over 1/4 of his shots have come from 10 feet to long 2-point range. There's a couple step backs, there's some pull-up jumpers off of pick and rolls in there, and it doesn't look good when he's going up with it, and the results have not been very good either. So I don't think it's all on just, well, he's playing the wrong position. That's some of it, sure, but I think some of it is on Gordon as well. And for our last most disappointing dude, also a power forward, Julius Randle, who I was really big on to go into this season. I did a whole video on why you shouldn't give up on the Knicks just yet, and Julius Randle was a big part of that vid. You know, everybody who had reservations about Julius in terms of his shot selection and just his IQ defensively and all that, yeah, they were right on this one. I mean, he had a really good box score season for the Pelicans, and he's a bulldozer going to the rim, no doubt about it. But he likes to do other things. He likes to go off the dribble, where he has occasionally shown some pretty decent playmaking chops, but hasn't really progressed that much. He's also attempting more threes this season, where he's shooting a hot 26%. He's also shooting more mid-rangers than he did with the Pelicans and his last couple years with the Lakers as well. And I have not seen a single person say anything nice about his defense this season, which is a little disappointing because there was a stretch for the Lakers where he did look like a switchable dude on defense, and I don't know, maybe he's not going to be that guy. Now, to be nice to Julius, the Knicks are way better with him than they are without him, but they're still pretty bad with him, so take that for whatever you will. Granted, I don't know if there's anybody on this team with a positive net rating, but given what we've seen from Julius this season and the inefficiencies and the questionable shot selection and all that, I think those numbers may have a little bit more validity to them when it comes to him. I don't know what the solution is besides hoping that Julius Randle just stops doing dumb things. So that's it, the 5 most disappointing players to open up this season. You might have thought Porzingis was going to be in this video, and I definitely thought about putting him in. I don't know, between missing like a whole year with an ACL thing and the fact that he's still putting up like 20 a game and he's playing the role that you want him to play, which is this stretch dude, he's just been missing a few shots here and there. Like, I'm just not as concerned about what he's done so far. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm being too nice to him, I don't know. But that's it.